Hey guys, it's Clean. We're going to be doing an online battle. I decided to switch it up. I played not quick match, but I decided to do a custom battle. So this is going to be with just a random player online, and we're going to be doing two armies of Rome against two other armies. And basically what I've been trying to do lately is I did that big battle a while back where I was defending a city, and as you guys saw, I got ninja'd really hard in that. But you guys said you really liked that gameplay. You liked the casual commentary, and you liked that I wasn't doing quick battles, so I'm going to be doing kind of a combination of the two. This is going to be me from first person perspective, so it's going to be a little more competitive, I guess I would say, and I'm not going to be doing as much zooming up, but it is going to be an instance of a large battle that I don't think I've covered too well, so it should be pretty epic nonetheless. So I'll go ahead and show you this battle. Comes out pretty well, pretty fun way. I think in this game, I'm trying to remember how it worked out, but I think we do have either large funds or large armies enabled. Either way, you can see our armies are pretty huge anyway. So my main tactic right there, you can see I set up in sort of a semi-quincunx formation. My ally on the right is doing the same with the alternating maniples. Anyways, I'm lining up my gladiators right there. I brought some elephants as well, and then I have some more elite infantry in the back. And then I also brought an artillery piece that I'll be moving up quite shortly, and I've also deployed all my cavalry in a huge wedge. Probably not the best of ideas because usually you want to mic your cavalry around, but I figured we'd be going for a little bit more of a cinematic approach. Anyways, and then yeah, this battle is going to get started soon. Hope you enjoy. I also wanted to let you know that I do have a lot more of these big cinematic battles, and I think I'll be trying to do those in, of course, a more casual style, just like I'll be doing this one. But those, what I think I'll do is I'll go ahead and do the replay footage in sort of like a watching the video afterwards. Even though it might be glitched, I'll check first to see if it's if the battle still comes out well. And if it does, we'll try and film stuff in theater mode or in replay mode, because that's pretty cool. Then I don't even have to focus on, it's not drawn from first person, so we can focus on the actual battle itself. Here you can see the Roman legion formed up here. Very, very impressive. Very long formation drawn up here. So my ally looks like he's moving forward full speed ahead. The opponent is going to be Parthia and Egypt. You can see they brought a lot of artillery, or maybe not a lot, but definitely a good amount. So immediately I'm going to try and stretch out more for my formation. I know he's going to be targeting my biggest clumps of troops, so I'm going to spread mine out. My ally, however, seems to have the idea that the best approach to this is just charge all out in huge blocks. So you can imagine, take a look on the right when the artillery are targeting his men, just how effective those hits are going to be on his long, narrow columns. And I'm also getting my fair shot of hits. I've never really used big artillery pieces in battles. I guess it never even crossed my mind to do it in this battle. I figured infantry would seize the day, but it would be cool to see a huge missile exchange. Anyway, the opponent I'm fighting here is going to be setting up. He has a lot of royal peltas facing off against me, and he has a cavalry wing over here. I'm looking to try and overwhelm that wing, but my opponent does, however, have elephants in the vicinity. That means that any cav that I send in there are just going to get butchered, so I'm going to try and support with my main legionary line. So they're going to come there. I'm going to move my own elephants over there and just start moving my guys up here. Take a look at the right. My ally is still just determinedly running forward, so that will cause some issues for us, especially as you can see he's getting his wing enveloped, and he's just getting pounded with his long formations. So definitely, if you're going to be facing artillery, don't freak up. Don't think that you need to charge straight out. You definitely should just spread out your formation and then start tactically moving forward. And yeah, don't feel too pressured by the artillery. A lot of it is just more psychological, the fact that you think you're taking a lot more damage than you are. Whereas I would say if you freak out about it and do what my ally is doing right here, you'll take actually more casualties than if you had handled the situation calmly. Anyways, I just realized I left my artillery piece back there, so I'm going to be pulling them up. Elephants look like they're positioning to block my guys here, so I'm going to send some triarii to try and protect my guys right here. My troops are getting just charged straight out here. That was a really, really bad move on my part. I can't believe I didn't see his cavalry moving in right here. Anyways, I'm going to try and retreat my guys. I'm going to pull these guys back into the fight, try and sacrifice them, hold out the cavalry, so I can have the rest of my troops just shoot at him. And my opponent's going to be moving up the rest of his forces right here. So this battle is pretty cool. I'm definitely enjoying this aspect of Rome, like I said in my other casual commentary. Much more than the straight up 1v1s, and very, very cool. And what I'm going to be doing here is, I'm not sure this is a very historic battle in the sense that Egypt and Seleucids, I don't think were ever allied fighting the Romans, but I figured, it would be cool to see two Roman legions acting together. And something I wanted to note about here is you can see how my ally is just charging in. That might have been kind of semi-historic. There were times when there were Roman generals, and of course this is true of all times in antiquity. Two generals really couldn't work together, and one of them would be more rash. So that's sort of my opponent to the east is going to be doing that. He's just be charging straight out. And I wanted to tell you guys, you may know this or you may not know this, that actually when Romans held joint command, so usually there'd be a consular army which would have two Roman legions, and then they would be supplemented with two legions of allies, and so each consular army would have 4 legions. These would sometimes be bigger or smaller. You might see an expansion of them, and particularly during the Second Punic War against Hannibal, you saw sort of the super consular legion, huge forces mustered by Rome in her desperation to beat Hannibal, and the Romans had a huge command, and when two consuls came together, they did something very interesting with the command of their armies. The Romans actually alternated command of the army each day, so you have two guys in overall command who are basically the same level of power in name, but they would switch off direct control of the army every other day. So that's a very interesting way to take on it, and just speaks to Rome's basically desire not to have one man in charge at all times. You see that very commonly in Roman history. They had a fear of tyrants. And you may wonder, well then, why is Rome so well known for its emperors? Well, that's going to be later in Rome's history. Early on, they had a lot of rules in place. Dictator could only serve for 6 months, etc. A lot of stuff trying to restrict the ability for one man to take over, and so they had a lot of sort of checks and balances like that. Anyways, what I was trying to say about the consuls leading large armies, as I said, consuls would probably have to switch command, and that played into the hands of a very intelligent general by the name of Hannibal. So Hannibal knew that the Romans had this strategy, this change of command, and when it came time for the huge Roman force mustering, I think around something like 80,000 men who would be going to fight at Cannae, Hannibal actually knew that the commanders, he sort of knew about their personalities through his spy network, and so he was trying to provoke the more rash of the commanders, and he was able to force an engagement by constantly harassing Roman territory, and he was counting on the alternating command of the Romans to finally make it so that one of the Roman commanders, out of his hubris, out of his desire to win glory, his desire to be rid of this invader, Hannibal was counting on him basically taking command one day and then leading out a charge, which is exactly what happened when Cannae happened. I'm sort of blanking on which commander it was that led that particular day, but anyways, he was very eager to have battle, even though Rome basically didn't have enough troops or didn't have enough skilled troops to match Hannibal's. What they did have is huge numbers that they thought would win them the day, and so they were kind of confident. The skills at Cannae and the strategy that the Romans used was basically, we may not have much quality, but we'll use our quantity of troops to win the battle. So what they did is they had a huge block of Roman infantry, decided that, the best way to have raw recruits stick to their formation, and in order to improve their morale and they thought and improve their battlefield competence was going to be to put them in a huge block. This had worked at Lake Trasimene, where Hannibal had landed a very, very sick ambush on the Romans as they're crossing through close to the shoreline. Hannibal landed an incredible attack on them, and even though the Romans were mostly slaughtered during that battle, maybe it was I think it's Trebia where this occurred. I can't remember. It's either Lake Trasimene or Battle of Trebia. In any case, during that battle, the Romans actually were mostly slaughtered, except for one column of 5,000 infantry who were just able to basically plow through Hannibal's lines. And so that's what the Romans learned from that battle is, maybe if we can put our legions together, they can just be a wrecking ball and push through Hannibal's forces. So that was their strategy going into Cannae. They thought that they could just have a grinding machine that would go through the center. Hannibal, knowing this and knowing that one of the commanders would take command, that one of the commanders was more rash than the other, Hannibal used this to his advantage. And what he did, as most of you know, is in Cannae he deployed in his idea was to have a center that was weak, that would be given instructions to progressively fall back and be pushed back. And so the center was supposed to be flexing inwards and sort of retreating, drawing the Romans in. On the flanks of Hannibal's sides, he had deep lines of Libyan infantry, heavy infantry on the flanks. And so as the Romans pushed further and further into the center, Hannibal actually ended up with a massive, basically the jaws of a trap closed shut. The flanks started to about face and close in on this compact force of Roman soldiers in the center. At the same time, the superior Carthaginian cavalry was able to make quick work of Rome's cavalry, either outright defeating them or driving them off the field, incapacitating some of the commanders, and that left basically the main blob of the Romans. All they knew how to do was push forward, but now all of a sudden they found themselves exposed on the flanks, and now the rear was getting charged by the cavalry, and that led to the failure, the utter incompetence and failure of that Roman army. And actually at this point, the sheer size of the Roman force meant that it was actually starting to work against the Romans. Romans were being crushed. They didn't have enough space to fight effectively, and so they were getting just slaughtered by troops on all sides. There are even descriptions of troops on the inside of this. You can imagine it if you were in this ball of Roman infantry. If you were in the center, you see dust and smoke and shouting and all this. The atmosphere around you is just pure chaos, and you're in the center, but you know you're completely surrounded. There's no way out. Just try and imagine yourself in that kind of situation, how terrifying that is. Anyways, we have accounts probably of Roman soldiers in the center of that battle, either just despairing because they can't move. If you've ever been in a large crowd, trying to pack to see a football game or a basketball game, or maybe you're at like a rave or something, you know what it's like to be deep in the crowd, and if you want to get out, you can't. And that's the kind of desperation. Imagine that there's just people systematically killing the outside of your clump, and you're stuck in the middle, helpless. And so you have Romans who are crushed to death, Romans who are desperately basically trying to stay alive. Some of them would commit suicide. Some of them would just, I would presume, pretend to be dead. Others were squashed. The killing was to such a high degree that eventually numbers vary, but we think around 50,000 Romans were killed. The killing was so incredible that there were piles and piles of Romans. The Carthaginians actually found that they had to pull back and clear some of the bodies in order to get at the remaining Romans in the center. And so you have this little island in the center that is going to be a Roman legion that's slowly being chipped away further and further. And that's basically I'm thinking I'll try and recreate it later if I can get some mods working and maybe create my own map, or I'll try and find a suitable map to recreate that. Anyways, back to the battle. You can see how the engagement went down. Basically, you have these elephants who just stomped my most elite units, so now that they're on the ground and it takes a while for them to get up, it's going to be very hard. My opponent is going to be hammer and anviling a lot with his Ptolemaic cavalry. That's going to be very bad for me. I was able to help my ally clean up on the right, and so that's good, but over here we're starting to crumble. These elephants are definitely going to be the most important part. My cavalry chasing down some extra units, and I get some pretty sick action right here with the ballistas. I'm able to fire at these guys, chase them off, so that's awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and just land one shot the retreating guy. Boom! I'm pretty sure that went right through one of his troops, so that's very cool, very satisfying to be able to command this. I'm going to turn around right here and decide to impale some of his elephants. I've never really been able to do this too much in multiplayer, but it's just really easy right there. Pricked him in the ass and he's going down. So it would be really cool if you could do... Oh shit, I forgot this happened in the replay. But anyways, I got spiked in the face right there, killed 2 more guys, and then this whole unit decides to do an about face. And anyways, that's lucky for me. It allows me to shoot at these elephants. As I was saying, I think it would be really cool if you could have multiple people in an army. And like some guy would give the general commands, and then maybe you could give your ally like control of these things. If there was some way to do that, it could turn into a really cool mini game where you do like a defense, where one of your guys has the defenses, another couple, like 3 or 4 players just man the artillery pieces, and then you have a horde coming towards you. Maybe it's computer controlled. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff I wish we could do if Rome was a little more moddable. You could have some really cool situational mini games and stuff like that. Anyways, my legions have been crushed over here by a combination of infantry, elephants, and cavalry. And right here, even though my scorpions are basically within range of his troops, a huge ball that I would love to destroy, basically what's going to be happening is they're out of ammo, so I'm screwed. I'm telling my opponent to halt here, and I'm just going to be charging after those guys over there. My troops are exhausted, so that's going to be a real bummer. And I'm just going to be bypassing this army. So it looks like, you know, the odds kind of hang in the balance. We have my cavalry, which is good. And then my ally does have some spearmen and stuff like that. But as you've seen in previous videos, spearmen can't necessarily always hand up that well to the elephants. Even though there are still 3 elephants, you know, we could either knock them out in a good throw of Pilla, or they could come in and trample the units. So this is basically what it's coming down to. And our opponents realize at this point that I'm making a beeline for his own troops right there. So he's going to be falling back, trying to reinforce them. I'm trying to point out so that my ally should try and engage at this position. I'm going to draw back some cavalry to try and keep his forces back. And the rest I'm going to be sending after those units over there. I'm going to try and charge his cavalry right here, see if I can kind of nip them out before his elephants can come in and help at all. So I'm going to try and engage with them, and I thought I could pull out in time, but his elephants just get right in the thick of it, so that was a pretty dumb move on my part. But I was trying to incapacitate as many of my opponent's forces as possible, and try and I figured if I could knock out those cavalry and do some damage to the elephants, then my ally would be able to deal with those just 2 infantry right there, because we would have basically a 3-on-2. But my cavalry gets basically taken out by his marauding elephants. Just look how fast his elephants are going, and his chasing cavalry. I'm going to try and take out these skirmishers, because I know if I don't, then that means these guys can just bait and kite the rest of the battle. My armored legionnaires, my cavalry basically are taking a lot of hits. They're pretty much getting hammered, and I don't really care. I'm just trying to chase down these forces and trying to not necessarily suicide, but take out as many of these troops as possible before my ally can engage. These elephants, though, they are out for blood. I'm barely able to outrun them, and my opponent still has some of his cavalry in and amongst my men chasing them, so that's going to catch up to me. Anytime I'm going to turn around and try and engage with those Ptolemaic cavalry, it's going to be a problem, because it just means his elephants are that much closer. And yeah, I'm just desperately trying to get down the rest of his men. My ally is kind of chasing in the background, saying he wants to be engaged in the fight. And look at these elephants, they're just they mean trouble. They're coming after my men, so I'm desperately trying to pull out in time, but these elephants are just going to keep stampeding through, and finally he breaks one of my units, and the other one is not going to be far gone. My ally starts painting arrows as if I didn't realize that I was screwed anyways, but whatever. He has the best of intents. So not nearly as successful as I thought I'd be. This guy is just going to go ahead and finish me off here, which means that my ally is going to be facing 2 troops of these, I can't remember if they're archers or whatnot, but anyways, he's going to be facing 2 skirmishers. That's going to be very bad for us. So what I'm going to try and do is tell my ally that he needs to move over there. I would suggest hiding around those ballista units. You can actually hide behind them, use them as cover, and I was thinking if he went in there, it would basically neutralize the arrows, and it would make it harder for his elephants to engage, so it was basically a better position, something you should think about if you're ever in this situation. But anyway, my ally, who, yeah, I mean, God bless his heart, I don't think he was the best of players. He just goes into Studer and decides to move forward, and his spears are on the wrong side. They should be on the right, facing his elephants, and he's just, at this point, I basically know the battle's over. So I'm just going to watch and see what happens. And you can see, even in Testudo formation, these archers on the right are just doing a lot of damage. Or no, I think those are javelin men, and followed up by a cavalry and elephant charge. Yeah, his guys they're just going to crumble. Anyways, it was a really fun battle. I enjoy these large-scale battles, and as I said, I'm going to try and come back and do some commentary while watching the replay, so I don't have to show you this first-person perspective. I can zoom in, show you a lot of the action, and I have a lot of battles where I can do that real shortly. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, we're now going to move on to not the credits, but the results camera. So you can see here, my opponent and I basically got competent amounts of kills. Take a look at my kills for my units. Pretty well. Syrian archers did nothing. Look at those Eastern spearmen. They were crap. They did nothing. But the cataphracts and the artillery definitely made up for it. Very, very cool battle. I hope you guys enjoyed. And as I said, stay tuned for more of these sort of casual, laid-back commentaries and some new stuff with epic battles. I have a 3v3, which is epic. I can't wait to share that with you guys. So, see you next time.